Ron McCoy back with Real Moments. I'm in my yard. One of the reasons why I love the job that I have at Ross is typically, of course I always go in at 5:45 a.m. and typically I'm home by early afternoon, giving me the opportunity to do pretty much anything I want to do. One of the things I love to do is putter around with plants and growing flowers, that kind of thing, checking to make sure that they are satiated. One of the things I enjoy doing in my free time, of course, is making videos. I love coming to my yard. I have great neighbors for the most part. The lady behind me in the red brick house has a light above her back door that blinks on and off at night. It's not blinking right now. Not sure what the purpose of that is. Also, she has a bright light on her back porch. At night, it looks kind of like it's lit up, kind of like a penitentiary looking for escaped convicts and so forth. And this is a very safe neighborhood. Not sure why she feels compelled to have everything lit up on the back of her house. Now, she's in her early 90s. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And it's really quiet right now. I have a couple of neighbors who own dogs, and usually they do a fairly good job of keeping their dogs quelled. The people who live over here have a dog named Apollo, and I bought an air horn, and in the spring when I had my windows open, that dog tended to want to bark there in the corner of the yard. And so through my open window, I blasted him with an air horn several times, and he ran off each time. And so he's been less annoying. And also, two brothers live over there. And the older brother and I were conversing one day, and Apollo was out frolicking around, and this older brother, his name is Nicholas, assured me that Apollo would be less of a nuisance, less annoying, and Apollo came over to the fence, and I asked Nicholas if it was safe for me to pet Apollo, and he indicated that Apollo does not bite. So I petted Apollo, and ever since then, Apollo has been quelled. Now, these two brothers lived in that house with their parents. Their parents got divorced and moved out and left the house to the brothers. And 21 years ago this summer, I went to battle against that family because they had two barking dogs that were in the yard barking all day long. I sent them a letter. I went over to talk to the mother of the family and express how much angst I had over how much their dogs were barking, and she was fairly nice about it. She gave me the phone number so that I could call them anytime the dogs were annoying me. One night I called because their white dog was barking right out underneath my window. My bedroom window is on the far left, and I have another window on the side. That's the east, and there's also a window on the south, and called them and said, well, your white dog is right under my window barking. And she told me, no, he's not. He's right here in the bedroom with me. And in the background, I could hear her husband say, no, I let him outside. And then she hung up on me. But I think because of all the problems I caused for them 21 years ago, these two brothers over here are much more vigilant about keeping their dog, Apollo, nice and quiet. We also have over here, I say we, it's actually my neighbors and I have a situation over here where a new fence was built. I don't know how well you can see it behind my shed. My shed is right behind me, and behind that there's a chain link fence. These people now have a dog, and doesn't usually cause me any problems because it's not right next to my yard. However, I like to venture down to those woods behind me, And when I ventured down there, well, the other night there were actually 2 dogs in that yard. Hopefully that one dog is just a guest of the family and is not going to be there all the time. And they barked at me and barked at me and barked at me. And as I walked back up the hill to my house, I had my hands over my ears, hoping they would get the message that their dog's strident barking was extremely annoying. But I can't really make my case very well right now because everything is so serene. At Ross today, it came up. Well, we were talking about how one of our managers has announced that he has turned in his 2-week notice so that he can stay at home and work on building a barn. Okay? He's 34 years old. His wife has given him permission, supposedly, to stay at home and not work. Well, I bet some employees at Ross, which is where I work, that I don't think he's actually going to quit. We each bet $20 and winner takes all. And I don't think he'll actually quit. But they seem to think he's going to, and they asked me, are you going to take his place? And I said, well, nobody's asked me, and I don't know if I would, even if someone did ask me. And as I told one of the managers today, we were talking about the fact that I had been a teacher for 40 years, worked full-time and so forth. And I don't know that I want to work full-time again. I like going over there and working 5, 6, 7, even 8 hours on occasion. But day in and day out, these managers put in a lot of hours. This manager who is substituting for this manager who's on vacation, who has turned in his 2-week notice, said that she was there at the store from 5:45 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's a lot of time in one place working. And when I was a teacher, I would work all day long and then come home and put in another 2 hours. I don't know that I want to do that, although quite frankly, in my own humble opinion, being a manager is something I excel at. I have mentioned this before. Worked at World's Fun for 9 seasons and worked my way up to supervisor. So I do a great job in that sphere. However, I don't know if I want to do it for that long each day. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I was in the cash office again today. Went really well, and everything came out perfectly, except that when information was printed, we have to print all this information and put it into a notebook and account for which cashier was short and so forth, because if you have, if you have like several mistakes in a row, then you get written up, that kind of thing. You have to account for all of that. One problem, we couldn't find any more inkjet cartridges to put in the printer, and for the deposit, how much money is deposited, it has to match perfectly. But when I printed that information off, lo and behold, because the printer, the inkjet cartridge is about run out, the line on there that indicated how much the deposit was blank. And I had already submitted it on the computer. I ran the money through. I think it was the same amount. We'll hope it all turns out okay. If not, the people from Ross will definitely be letting my managers know so that I can, feel bad about it. I don't know. Anyway, also, I was sure today to make sure that I post-dated or pre-dated or whatever it was, the information, so that the other person who works in the cash office doesn't have to write me a note and doesn't have to set up the paperwork ahead of time, so that I am sure to get the dates on there correct. I did go back about a month, and lo and behold, there were a couple of dates that I put in incorrectly. The thing is, you're supposed to put in the date, the previous date, the day before, except on when you count the safe, it has to be the current date. And I may have screwed that up. Well, I definitely screwed that up. So live and learn. But the money came out perfectly today. And I'm about to go back inside and work on one of my video series That series is Rob McCool's Madcap Mysteries. I don't know if you watch it. Some people do. Most people don't. It's just a chance for me to use some of my creative writing and creative video skills in order to make that as interesting as possible. More than anything, I make these videos for my own entertainment, and if people watch them, great. If they don't watch them, their loss. Anyway, tomorrow night, my family and I, we get to go to the new theater restaurant over in Overland Park. We're going to see Clue. We went in March, I believe it was March 15th, and it was excellent. And the food was especially wonderful. And I paid for everything for everyone in my family. I have two sisters, they're twins. I have a niece and her boyfriend. And my former brother-in-law went the last time, but he's not invited this time. We're going to be going tomorrow night, leaving about 5:15. That should be lots of fun. And actually, my life is lots of fun. I keep a diary. And in that diary, for September 13, 2024, I wrote that I was so glad to be out of teaching. It was such a relief, and hopefully I can continue to maintain that attitude. Yes, Ron McCoy's Real Moments will continue daily. Truly incredible things are coming.